Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are, wherever you may be. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. I am Brad Franklin, creative content writer here in Chesterfield, and I'm very glad to tell you that Chesterfield Behind the Mic is on the air once again. We got an interesting show planned for you today. I'm joined today by Allison Butler, who is a prevention specialist from the Mental Health Support Services here in Chesterfield. Allison, welcome to the show. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Obviously, when this time of year, this is something we've done. I don't know how many years this campaign, Don't Be an Accidental Drug Dealer, has been, but obviously, there's a lot that goes into sort of prevention and what you do. Before we get into the bags and sort of what they are, and folks who might be seeing them if you're watching the show, I want to talk a little bit about sort of your background and what it is that you do and how long you've been doing it, and talk to the folks about sort of how prevention services really works.
Yes, thank you. Like you said, I'm a prevention specialist here for Chesterfield County and the Mental Health Support Services at the Rogers Building. And I've been in the field of prevention, I'm going to date myself here, probably going on 23 years.
Okay.
I started out in Kentucky.
Okay.
And I was there for 16 plus years. And then we recently moved here to Richmond, Virginia area almost 6 years ago. So
Okay.
I've been with the county a little over 5 years in the field of prevention. So we just do education around prescription drug use and abuse, misuse. Like you said, we're doing this is our fourth annual Don't Be an Accidental Drug Dealer campaign, and it really highlights the importance of safe storage and disposal of medications that you have in your home.
Right. How prevalent of a problem is this? Because one of the things that I was really curious to learn is that these things existed. Lock bags made some sense, but the idea that there were specific bags that you would put stuff in, which we'll get to in a minute. And as I understand it, we actually did a demo of actually disposing of medication. It's a pretty gnarly looking process in the bag. But I'm just curious, how big of a problem is this, and how do campaigns like this sort of address those specific needs?
Yes, well, we're unfortunately this year we've had record overdoses across the United States. I think it's over 100,000,
Wow.
which it's been the highest it's been.
Mm-hmm.
And the pandemic has fueled a lot of relapse and substance abuse, misuse,
Right.
with the medications. In the past, there's been a lot of overprescribing of prescription medications and opioids, which has kind of fueled the misuse and abuse and the overdoses of opioids.
Right.
So, and in Chesterfield County, I think last year we almost had over 300 overdoses in Chesterfield County last year, and I think close to 70 were fatal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really want to highlight, because everybody has medications in their house.
Right.
Everybody, whether it's over-the-counter medications, prescription medications, and the disposal piece is a great way if they're unused or expired. You don't want them sitting around your house, especially if you have young children
Right.
or teenagers. I think there's a statistic that says that for teenagers, 61% who misuse prescription drugs get them from a friend or family member. So, they go through the medicine cabinets and the kitchen cabinets, of people's homes.
Right.
And so if you have medications at home, this is a great tool to use to put them in and dispose of them, and then locking them up if you have them, especially if you have little children in the home
Right.
as well.
Right. Now let's talk about the bag specifically. So I'm not sure how deep you want to go into what actually is in the bag, other than to say that whatever's in the bag will render whatever you put in the bag inert, right?
Yes.
Basically, it will essentially get rid of it.
It's just like a charcoal compound. This isn't the kind of stuff that if you ever went to the emergency room for an overdose, that they pour the charcoal down your throat
Right.
and into your stomach to deactivate all the active ingredients. So this is a charcoal carbon compound inside this bag.
Right.
So when you open it up,
Right.
and you put your medications in the bag and you add water, and the charcoal compound deactivates all the active ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you were to consume this, nothing would happen to you.
Right.
It would just go through your system and you would eliminate it. And it's biodegradable, which is great
Right.
because it won't pollute the waterways or the ground. And you can just throw it in your trash can
Right.
at home from the safety of your own home.
Right. Now, in terms of the bags themselves, roughly how many do we have in Chesterfield?
We have thousands.
Okay.
We
And
have
we'll get to in a few minutes all the places you can go to get one if that's something that you think you need. But I'm just was curious in terms of the number of them we have, and my guess is that even though this is a campaign we run in the spring, these are available pretty much all the time, right?
Yeah, we keep everybody pretty well stocked. We usually have enough to go through the whole year. Just depends on how many people are utilizing the bags at any point in time.
Right.
But yeah, and then you can put 45 pills, liquids, or patches go in here, so
Okay.
you can put a lot of things in here.
Right. And then for folks who are listening, there's a good anybody who is aware of what ASMR is. There's a good you can kind of hear the charcoal in the bag a little bit, sort of moving around. In terms of, you said 45 pills. What would happen if somebody put too many in there? Would it not necessarily work as well? Or is that a specific number folks really need to pay attention to?
It just Ziploc, so you don't want to get it too full because you have
Got
to fill
it.
it with water,
Okay.
and it won't zip right.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
How have those kind of changed over the years? Have they primarily? I'm just curious from a technology standpoint. Like, it seems like every day there's something new about pretty much everything we do, and I'm just curious if those have gotten, that maybe the bags have gotten smaller, or the substances have they been pretty much the same since you've been involved?
These are the medium pouches. They redesigned them last year where they can actually stand up on their own before
Nice.
they lay down, and
Right.
everything would spill out. So
Right.
they did redesign them, and they made the packaging less.
Right.
But it contains the same amount of
Gotcha.
the same amount of stuff in there.
Now, in terms of, so let's say folks get a bag, they put the medication they no longer need, they want to dispose of it safely. They put that in the bag, and now they're done with it. Can they just throw it away?
Yeah, throw it in the trash can.
Cool. And so there's nothing specific that they need to do after the fact. Let's talk a little bit about the locking bag. This one seems a little bit more straightforward in the sense of maybe sort of what it does. But this is obviously primarily for those who have medication they want to keep and also want to get to later, but a way for it to be securely stored away from folks. Talk to me a little bit about the locking bags.
Yeah, they can have a combination lock or a key. Some people who can't remember the combination lock,
Right.
you have like 1,000 that you need to remember.
Right.
And they hold probably about 7 or 8 prescription bottles.
Okay.
And of course, this isn't tamper proof.
Right.
It's just another layer that makes it harder to get to.
Right.
And it's great, like I said, if you have children at home. It's great just to put your medication. You can put it in a drawer or a book bag. You can. It's great to travel with if you're
Right.
going on vacation. Throw it in your suitcase,
Mm-hmm.
and it just, like I said, just another layer to keep people from trying to get it into your medications. We work with realtors. We've been working with realtors because I think this is an interesting point. We were talking about there's been a lot of cases where when you have open houses, and
Right.
people don't really think about this
Huh.
because anybody can go to an open house.
Right,
If
right.
you're a curious neighbor and you're like, oh, I wonder what their house looks like, you
Right.
can just go in. And a lot of people know this.
Yeah.
And they'll show up on open houses, and there'll usually be 2 people, and one person will be talking to the realtor, and the other person will go through the house and go through drawers and cabinets and stuff looking for medications.
Wow.
So this is just another good tool to take, because you lock up your valuables and when you have open houses, but people
Right.
don't really think about medications.
Right.
So it's just, like I said, another tool to use. You can just throw it in your purse and take it with you when you know you're having an open house, so your
Wow.
medication stays secure.
So it's good for not only for folks who want to keep their medications safe at home, but also for those who may be in a situation where they need to go out and about and that kind of thing. I was going to ask about the real world implications, and that does a really good job of kind of highlighting one, because that's not something that prior to this I would have ever considered, that folks essentially would be shopping at open houses.
Yeah.
In terms of the places that the whole idea of the campaign, right, is not to be an accidental drug dealer.
Yep.
And what's the central message from that? And it seems to be that try to think through the possibilities that you don't consider, right? To think
Yeah.
through the things that you can't foresee, and make sure everything is tied up and obviously secure. In your experience, how often is that really like the driver? I mean, you mentioned earlier that that's a significant statistic of people who are essentially drugs that are obtained through accidental purposes, right? People who did not mean for someone to get that. How, in your experience, how often is that a real thing?
It's pretty frequent. It's a little less because doctors have done a good job of prescribing less opiates for
Right.
surgery and stuff, because they're with the whole Purdue Pharma and all the lawsuits and stuff going around, opiates being very addicting.
Right.
People have don't have access to them like they used to, and which can be a good thing or a bad thing, because
Right.
once their prescription is gone, they go out and they can seek other ways of getting the prescription medications, and that's why you see people breaking into homes or cars and
Right.
theft and
Right.
and people who legitimately got a prescription for a pain, and then they become addicted to the pain medication, and then they no longer have that pain medication. And then you see people turning to heroin and going on the street and through dealers trying to find the medication that they need. So, yeah.
Well, if you are somebody in Chesterfield who would like to have one of these bags, right now the campaign, obviously, we mentioned before, there are lots of these available. Allison, where can folks get them? And we're going to put a graphic on the screen for all the locations, but talk to us a little bit about how folks can actually come and get one of these.
Yes, they're at the locking bags and the pouches are all at every single library location in Chesterfield County, so they're pretty well stocked. And then around our county complexes, we carry these, like the Rogers Building, the police department, the administrative building where people come to do their taxes, or the
Right.
utility, the health district on campus. They all carry the disposal pouches.
Cool.
But the bags are at the library location, so
Great.
the locking bags.
And I know, this episode's going to run in several weeks, but I know there's an event coming up that you guys are doing. Talk to the folks a little bit about that.
Yes, it's called the annual, actually the medication take back event.
Okay.
It's in partnership with the DEA.
Okay.
And it's going to be held on April 30th. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they're going to have two locations this year. The one is at Wegmans off of in Midlothian.
Okay.
And the other one is at the John Tyler College campus in Chester.
Okay.
So from 10 to 2, you can come and bring any amounts of medication, just no needles or sharps that they ask. But you can bring over the counter, you can bring liquids, you can bring pills, as many things that you have in your house lying around. Just come and just hand it to the police officer, and they take it from you, and you don't have to worry about it. And the police department headquarters here on Iron Bridge also has a 24-hour kiosk where you can come in 24 hours a day and just drop off medication. So
Great.
if you have large quantities.
Good deal. Well, Allison, thank you very much for joining us today and talking to us about the disposal bags and obviously for the lock storage bags. We very much appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right, and you can make sure you check us out on social media. On Twitter, it's Chesterfield VA, and on Instagram, it's Chesterfield, Virginia, all one word. On Facebook, you can check out our podcast page. Just search Chesterfield Behind the Mic. Make sure to like that page so you can keep up with us as we go forward. Now, let me tell you about the ways you can check us out. You can watch the show on our YouTube channel as well as on our website, chesterfield.gov/podcast. An audio-only version of the show is available there, as well as on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, and a whole host of other services. You can also watch the show on WCCT Thursday through Sunday at 7, and on the weekends at noon. That's Comcast Channel 98 and Verizon Channel 28. Lastly, you can check out chesterfield.gov/connect with us for more information on how to get in touch with us and get more information. My thanks to Martin Stiff, my director, Susan Pollard, my executive producer, and all the good folks here in communications and media for making this possible. And my thanks to you for giving us a look today. So, from all of us here in Chesterfield, thank you very much for making us a part of your day. We'll see you again soon. Take good care.